So here we are with Bruce Vilanch, comedy writer, songwriter, actor, Emmy Award-winner, and all-around good guy, talking about his memories and experiences in Wilton Manors, Florida.
Hmm.
Bruce has over the decades visited pretty much every gay mecca in the US. Palm Springs, Ptown, Fire Island, Greenwich Village, Boys Town. And now we have a new one that's kind of a new player in the game, Wilton Manors. What do you think of Wilton Manors?
Well, I love it. I should preface it by saying when I was on Hollywood Squares, I got offers to play all these places, and I determined I would work in every gay place I could find. And so that's Wilton Manors was on that list, and I played the Manor. Is that or that?
Yes.
Yeah, it was a club at one point. It was a club, and I played there. But I did, you said Rehoboth, Saugatuck. I mean, you name it, you book it, you got it. I was there. But the thing about Wilton Manors, it's unusual. All those other places are resorty, and they're kind of off the beaten path. And Wilton Manors is, of course, in South Florida, so it's resorty all year round. But it's also a very cosmopolitan city, but surrounded by Fort Lauderdale, where the boys are. Well, the boys are really in Wilton Manors, of course, but that's our secret. But what I love about it is, it's a gay city, and we'd always dreamed about having a gay city. I mean, I lived for years next door in West Hollywood, which is a gay city, but it's a little bit more intense, I think, in Wilton Manors because it's a smaller geographical area. But it's also one of those places where you could do things that when I was, hunting age in my 20s, you couldn't do. Um, uh, the idea that there would be a street of openly gay bars was unheard of. The idea that you could walk down the street, not just in drag, but holding somebody's hand of the same sex was unheard of. And all of these things, which are considered daily activities in Wilton Manors, didn't exist for any of us back when I came out. And so the idea that it's there is kind of like a dream. And that it's also in a place that has palm trees and fabulous weather. And because of that, people who are wearing very little clothing, if they can get away with it, makes it even more exciting. And all year round, it's like that. You want to see that in Ptown, you better not go in February because you'll run into some Portuguese fisher folks and a lot of extremely tough lesbians who don't want you around there. It's not season. Get out. That doesn't happen in Wilton Manors. So that my experience of it is just kind of like it's like going to the World's Fair every day. It's like I can't believe that this is actually happening. When I think about where we came from to where we are today.
I agree 100%. I refer to Wilton Manors very often as my happy place because you can't help but be happy there. You
Hmm.
can walk right down the main drive, Wilton Drive, and be wearing fishnet hose and high heels if you want, or you can be wearing your pajamas or whatever, and nobody really cares. There are some people that might get turned on and hit on you, but nobody's going to throw
I'll
stones.
make a note of that. Oh, staff, hearing this, thank you.
Bring your favorite pajamas next time you come.
Mm.
So the
BJ's for BJ's. Thank you.
And to put it in perspective, as Bruce mentioned, Wilton Manors is a tiny place. The entire city is 2 square miles. So you can pretty much walk anywhere in Wilton Manors.
There's nothing square about those miles.
That is
They're
very true.
it's 2 hip miles.
2 hip miles.
I'm sorry, continue.
So there's a lot of different places in Wilton Manors to hang out. There's a couple dozen gay bars that you can go to and have a cocktail to suit any style of club that you like, whether it's a high energy disco, laid back, neighborhood bar, um, a strip bar. They're all there.
Well,
What is your favorite?
I was never, well, my favorite in Wilton Manors is Johnson's because among my favorite things in life are Johnson's. So, and there are plenty of them there. So I like going there. It's very convivial, and the guys are very hot, and they're. It's kind of like Chippendales, but they're not aggressive. They're just fun. Um, among the other things that we never had were strip bars, things like that, open places like that. So it's also very refreshing to be able to go. And a lot of towns still don't have that. I mean, even in West Hollywood, they have this sort of arcane liquor laws, and it's difficult to set up a thing like that. But the fact that that exists, and then La Boy down the street, which is like a bit twinkier than Johnson's. And when I was there, I did a little show at La Boy. I said it was in a nod to wokeness, they were changing the name of the club to La Them. No one should be offended, because God knows we don't want anyone to go to sleep during the woke era. But that's what I like. I've never been a bar person. I never did well in bars when I was younger. Everybody else would peel off, and it was all about physical attraction, and it was just too difficult. I would meet people other places, but bars were just never my scene. So I haven't, I mean, I went to some because that's what one did. A lot of times they were because there were shows I wanted to see, or shows I had written, or shows I was in. So I would hang out in them, but I wasn't really a bar going person. But this was before there were dancers who could, you had to make it rain. That's a whole other thing.
Now, I've been with you at Johnson's and at La Boy. So I've seen you in action in those clubs, and I see the response that you get. And one thing that I think was important to me is that people don't accost you when you're there. You can walk in there, you can be there as a private person. Nobody really all jumps all over your table and tries to, get your attention. They let you be. They let you enjoy yourself and be yourself. And you can have a good time without feeling like you're in the, on the red carpet or in the spotlight.
You're talking about me personally, or just you in the
Well,
general
anyone in
sense?
general, but I've noticed it with you as well.
Yeah, I mean, there are people who come over, but it's always very nice. It's really pleasant. But I have the kind of fame. If I were Sean Hayes, maybe they would be jumping all over him. I don't know, because he's a gay icon from a big television series and all of that. But I have just enough fame that the people who recognize me, and they generally want to come and say hello. And then there are people who, the right wingers who think I'm Michael Moore, who want to come and tell me what an asshole I am. And of course, that's, I say, oh, thank you, and I call security. We're this dark-side person.
So you kind of we kind of touched on the different types of bars that are in Wilton Manors, and one of the ones that I know you've mentioned to me before that is a different vibe completely than La Boy or Johnson's. Right across the street, one of the bars that started the whole Wilton Manors scene going the way it is today is Georgie's Alibi.
Mm-hmm.
What do you like about Georgie's?
It was the first bar I recall going to there. I mean, I think before Wilton Manors had developed, but I'm not sure of the archaeology. But it was the gay bar in Lauderdale, sort of that, and the Boulevard were bars that I was taken to when I was down there, and it had a traditional nice gay bar vibe. I think there were performances there occasionally.
Yes.
That I remember seeing. I mean, I may have been chemically altered, so I don't exactly remember who. But a lot of stuff exploded after RuPaul's Drag Race, of which I am a part. I've been a judge, I've been a mentor, I've been Santa Claus, I've been everything but in drag on RuPaul's Drag Race. So, but that really changed the whole nightlife atmosphere for gay people, because suddenly these drag queens were on television and they were in demand, and they would go all over the country, all over the world. They're in Vegas now. I mean, it's you can't lose on that show. Just being on that show, it's kind of like I was on Shark Tank with a friend of mine's invention, and it doesn't matter if the sharks give you the money or not. You will get 100,000 hits on your website while you're on the show. There are no losers, and there are no losers on RuPaul. So, and the proof is that places like Georgie's Alibi bring them in and book them, and they become a revenue stream for them. So it's become a whole new world since then. Back then, it was a little bit more of a traditional kind of gay bar. It wasn't. It was. It drew a more established clientele. Translation, a little older, because it wasn't like a crazy dance place, as I recall. But it was. You could talk there, and but it wasn't like. I mean, it wasn't a wrinkle room. It wasn't where everybody was kind of decrepit. You know, I've been to those. There was a bar in Chicago called Kitty Sheehan that was a favorite, run by a woman who looked exactly like Mayor Richard J. Daley, and they were never seen together. And everybody in it kind of, she was a crusty old lesbian, and everybody in it looked a bit like her. I haven't found that room in Wilton Manors.
Yeah, I haven't either. It's every place you go there, it seems to have energy. It's very accepting. You see people at bars where you mix gay men and lesbians and trans and non-binary and everybody else
Well,
all come
that's
in.
the thing about having a gay town. I mean, in West Hollywood, because it's so accepting, a lot of straight women like to hang out there because they're not going to get hit on. And of course, wherever there are straight women, there will be straight men following them. And that's always a problem because they are not necessarily in the same groove as everybody else in West Hollywood. Not to say there are no straight men in West Hollywood, but I mean, when they're there in the evening, they're on the hunt. And, that can get in the way. So that's been, there, of course, a huge revenue stream for the city and all the businesses that are in the city. But it's interesting because sometimes that their attitude comes up against the vibe of the town, which is very accepting and diverse. And they have to learn to be accepting and diverse, or get out of Dodge.
Absolutely. And I don't want to give the impression that Wilton Manors is all about bars because there is so much more there. I mean, there's dozens and dozens of gay retail stores, clothing stores, gift stores, and of course, uh, dozens of gay friendly restaurants.
Sure.
One of my favorites is Rosie's. It just
Well,
always
it's
feels
like
like
a
a party.
landmark.
It's like
You walk in. I walk in there and inevitably see people I haven't seen in ages. Most of them from other places who were in Lauderdale vacationing or something, or they have a second home down there now. But so it's always like a reunion. I know when I go there, and that's good because there are great margaritas, and you can eat really sloppy, like dips and guac, and you can leave with it. I mean, you can go at Tulio's across the road is another one, but that's not quite so raucousy. Rosie's is a real hangout kind of place where
it
lots
is, and it's so
loud and loud,
festive.
a lot of TVs going on, and
It's
fun.
always so festive. I don't think I've ever seen a restaurant before that had so much color in it. It's almost like an overload.
Yeah, there's a terrific energy when you go in there. Absolutely.
And you mentioned Tulio's. Tulio's has some incredible tacos. If you're into tacos, they have not just your average chicken and beef tacos, but
Uh,
all kinds of exotic.
Very interesting menu. Very all kinds of things you could eat with your hands.
And they have a patio
Great.
where you
Except
can
where my
sit
hands have
outside
been.
and
I
cruise.
must remember to sanitize. Sorry.
They have a patio where you can sit outside while you're eating and cruise what's
Oh
going
yeah.
on.
Well, I mean, Rosie's is a big. They're all indoor outdoor places. I mean, it's South Florida, so that's
Right.
a lot. But the Trulio's one is kind of nice because it is on like a walking strip. There
Yeah.
are a lot of people who are going in between bar to bar and all of that, so they kind of flounce by. Not so much at Rosie's. Rosie's is more like a destination resort.
Yeah. Although it's only about half a block away from Johnson's.
That's right. And you can walk there on some of those Johnsons. So I put out a cry. Excuse me. Send the
Yes,
Johnson
indeed.
over. I want to. I want to crawl home.
So comparing it to the other cities you've been to, the neighborhoods, what differentiates Wilton Manors from somewhere like, say, Palm Springs or Ptown?
Well, Wilton truly has no seasons. I mean, there are even in the summer, there are all these hot Latin guys who fly up from Brazil and Argentina because it's winter down there and they want to party. So it's a year-round resorty cosmopolitan feel, which I think makes it unique. Um, and it's also it caters to that as opposed to Key West, which is more along the Fire Island Provincetown lines. Key West is at the end of the earth, nobody drives through Key West to get anyplace else. You have to want to go there. And once you're there, ain't no place else to go. And it shares that with Fire Island and with Ptown. So you've made the commitment to be on Key West. And Key West, the vibe is much more laid back. And as it, of course, there's a heavy commercial interest, but it's much more in Margaritaville than how Wilton Manors is in the middle of a metropolis. So it's there's going to be a different energy. But so I think it has a unique spot. I mean, West Hollywood is the only thing you can really compare it to, but that's LA, which is another animal. So it doesn't quite compare. But most of those gay places are seasonal, and they are small and resorty and difficult to access. Even Saugatuck. We used to go to Saugatuck from Chicago, or Russian River, in San Francisco, Guerneville. Those places, they're hard to get to, and they're very small. They're not. There's still a lot of gay commercial life there, but nothing on the level of Wilton Manors.
And for people who have never been to Wilton Manors, it is geographically located on the very northern edge of Fort Lauderdale and kind of midway between Boca and Miami. So there's a lot of gayness around it too. It's not just an isolated concept. It's a very accepting area in South Florida. Now, watching what's going on politically with these different laws that are coming up, not only in Florida but in other states around the country, what is your feeling about people going out and visiting, gay people going out and visiting these places in, say, Florida, when everybody else is saying boycott Florida because they're getting too crazy there, they're going to come and arrest you? What would you say to that?
Well, I don't know if that's true. Are they going to come and arrest you? Depending on what. I mean,
not likely.
That sounds very general. I mean, that does sound like it has nothing to do with drag. They could arrest you for a lot of other things. I think it's an older argument. I've never been crazy about boycotts. I'm not 100% sure that they work. And I remember when were boycotting Colorado
because of Coors.
Yeah, and well, no, it was because of some legislation that the Republicans in Denver, in the legislature in Denver, managed to get through. I forget. It was like 30 years ago. I think, first of all, we're biting off our own nose to spite our faces, and who wants that kind of a nose job? You could, there are people whose livelihoods depend on gay tourism, and so I think we should support them. I don't think we say, well, you're gonna have to fight this, and we'll come back after you've gotten it fought. I mean, it's a thing that's happening at the moment, and it's being run by Rhonda Fleming. What's his name? Ron DeSantis. Sorry, I keep getting you confused with that woman, the redhead. And I mean, this guy is taken on Disney, which is the biggest employer in his state. I mean, there's something fundamentally wrong with his philosophy. I mean, he's crazy. I think he's trying to, to slice off a piece of MAGA, and I don't know that it will. I don't think it will work. But
let's hope not.
I think we are collateral damage at the moment, but I don't think that that's for long. But that doesn't mean we don't fight it. And I understand people's positions that that the law could be leveraged against them, and I don't know that it will be. But because when you get in Florida, especially, such extreme things as one mother doesn't like a book and it gets banned, I mean, that won't stand. Even in Florida, that won't stand. So, yeah. So, I mean, a Trump judge overturned the drag ban. A judge Trump. I mean, So there is hope. As we said, there are more of us than there are of them.
Absolutely. And if everybody had walked away from Stonewall because they didn't like what was going on there, we never would have had the Stonewall riots.
Yeah.
So, you got to stand up for your rights. So none of these drag bans or anything else is going to prevent you from coming back and visiting Wilton Manor and tasting that rainbow goodness there, huh?
That rainbow goodness. I like that. That's a great euphemism for a whole lot of things. No, you can't stop me. My God.
Well, we certainly look forward to seeing you there again, and we'll be camping out at either Johnson's or La Boy to see if you show up unexpectedly without advance warning.
Well, you know, I love adult entertainment.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you sharing your
All
thoughts
right.
with us,
My
and we look
fun.
forward to seeing you again soon.
Yay. Thanks.
Yay!